ladies and gentlemen, and welcome inside the gymnasium at Milford High School as Milford TV is once again happy to bring you coverage of Scarlet Hawks athletics. This is Tim Coet on the call. We are back to coverage of the Milford Lady Hawks basketball team this evening. The second to last home game of the year for the Lady Hawks as they welcome in an opponent from the Kelly Rex division of the Hockomock League. It is the Mansfield Lady Hornets in the building this evening in what should be an outstanding matchup of two of the top teams in the Hawk coming into action this week. Right now, both of these teams have already sewn up spots in the MIAA tournament. Just two of the three teams that have guaranteed themselves a spot in the playoffs so far in the Hockomock League. Mansfield comes in first place in the Kelly Rex standings with an overall record of 11-4, 9-1 within league play. And Milford, after their victory last Friday night at Attleboro, comes in with a record of 10-4, 6-4 within league play. And for the second season in a row, Milford is on their way to the MIAA tournament. And of course, just an outstanding end to last week's action. Of course, you had the memorable night here on Thursday night with Kate Irwin joining the 1,000-point scorers club. And after all of the emotion and intensity that went into that game, a game that required quite a second half turnaround, some of us wondered if Milford was going to have the energy level the following night, having to travel on the road to Attleboro just 24 hours later to close out the week. But Milford was able to hold up their end of the bargain with a very good performance, both offensively and defensively. Kate, after her 33-point monster performance on Thursday to join the 1,000-point scorers ranks, she was able to come back with a 17-point effort on Friday, the 26th, in that victory over Attleboro. Was a 46-38 win for Milford. That put them into double digits, and in so doing secured their spot in the upcoming MIAA playoffs. So a different situation for Milford here a year later than what they experienced last season getting into the playoffs. Of course, they really had to scratch and claw in the late days of the season last year to earn that 10th victory. They ended up getting into the playoffs at 500 at 10-10. So a different opportunity presents itself for Milford here in this season. They have 6 games remaining on the regular season schedule, so they have the chance here over this final stretch to potentially pad their seeding in that upcoming Division II Central bracket. It took 13 victories last year to earn a home game in the first round of the playoffs. So if you're looking for a potential benchmark of what it might take for Milford to earn a first-round playoff matchup here in the Milford gym, in all likelihood, it would take at least 3 more victories over the course of these final 6 games. So that'll be something very interesting for us to monitor here as we go forward in this Lady Hawk season. But also another interesting plot line, and this is something that we have talked about in the past for Milford, is what can they do against top-tier playoff caliber competition moving forward? They're going to have a number of tough tests here in the back portion of their schedule, including this game here tonight against first-place Mansfield. These have been the kind of teams that Milford has struggled against so far this season. Just 4 losses on the year, but 3 of those 4 losses have come to the top teams in the Davenport, and those include Foxborough and also Franklin High School, as well as Oliver Ames High School. So Milford, an opportunity here to have sort of a measuring stick game against another team that has already punched their ticket to the playoffs in Mansfield. And what a dominant team this has been so far this year. Mansfield boasting a lot of matchup problems with very good defense. Overall on the season, Mansfield has allowed just 39.5 points per game. That is second best in the Hockomock League behind only Foxborough. And a lot of tough matchups out on the perimeter. Some tall and physical and fast defenders on this team that have been able to hold the likes of Kayla Raymond in check at points this season. So that is going to be something to monitor here tonight for Kate Irwin. Can she continue her offensive surge against this team that has been so difficult defensively? And those are very good defensive numbers just on the surface, but as we look a little bit deeper, against Hockomock League opponents, Mansfield has allowed just 33 points per game. So this has been a defense that has been very stingy, to say the least, over the course of their season so far. And as a matter of fact, Mansfield, going up against Foxborough earlier this season, they're one of just 2 teams this season to hold that potent Foxborough offense to under 50 points. So they've been able to hold some of the most lethal offenses in the league in check this season. So Milford is going to need to really find a way to generate points against a defense that is very difficult to score against. So it's going to need to really be a team effort here tonight. Offensively, these two teams very similar in terms of their numbers. Milford comes in offensively scoring 50.8 points per game, Mansfield 50.5 points per game. And you look at sort of the makeup of these two offenses, similar in that they have two of the top scorers in the league. Kate Irwin still second overall in the league in scoring coming into this week, averaging just over 19 points a game. Over on the Mansfield side, it is Meg Hill, who has been an integral part of their offense. Of course, at 6'3", she's one of the prominent post players in the Hockomock League, and she comes in, as I mentioned, in the top 10 in terms of scorers. She is currently 6th in the league, averaging 14.2 points per game. She also has a league high in terms of double-doubles on the season. She notched 15 points and 12 rebounds in her most recent game. She has 9 double-doubles in all on the season. That is most amongst the girls' basketball ranks. And also, you look at some of the other scoring depth for these two teams. They also have 2 players that are inside the top 20 in points per game. Both Ann Mayer for Mansfield and Jess Tomaso of Milford averaging 9.1 points per game, which is good. Tied for 17th best in the Hockomock League. So good primary scorers, good secondary scoring options for both of these teams. But again, the tale of this game is going to be told on the defensive side of the floor. Can Milford limit what Meg Hill is able to do down low? And is Mansfield going to be able to hold Kate Irwin in check the way they have been able to do some of the other top scorers in the Hockomock League so far this season? So a chess match, to be sure, between head coach TJ Dolliver for Milford and legendary head coach Mike Redding for Mansfield, who of course is in the elite ranks for both girls basketball and also football, coaching both of those squads at the varsity level for this Mansfield team. So an excellent matchup of 2 playoff-bound teams as the Milford Lady Scarlet Hawks get set to take on the Mansfield Lady Hornets. And of course, one other plot line that we can look into over the final stretch of this regular season will no longer be on the watch for 1,000 points, but with Kate Irwin coming into the matchup here tonight with 1,018 career points, you can't help but look at those other 5 names that are currently on the 1,000-point scorers banner and think, where will Kate end up in terms of how many points will she score when all is said and done? Right now, it is not only Jenna Mackey, who is the only other female name on that list, but she is the high scorer in Milford High School history, notching 1,184 career points. Kate's 166 points away from that. It would take quite an effort for Kate to get to that all-time scorers mark. But in terms of the rest of the names on that list, she is within 53 points of getting to the second highest scorers mark in Milford High School history. So a little bit of perhaps icing on top of the cake for Kate as she moves forward. We'll see exactly where that point total will end up by season's end. But that is something for us to watch out for here. In the meantime, an exciting basketball game about to get started. We'll see player introductions here on court level, and then we'll have the starting fives and the opening tip for you when we come back next. Stay tuned to coverage of Milford High School athletics right here on Milford TV. Time to get this matchup started between the Milford Lady Scarlet Hawks and the Mansfield Lady Hornets. Davenport meets Kelly Rex. And your starting fives for these two teams look like this. First from Mansfield, it is number 3, Emily Vigent, number 23, Ann Mayer, number 11, Maddie Bendanillo, number 31, Meg Hill, and number 42, Maggie Danahy. And for the Lady Scarlet Hawks, it is the usual starting 5 of Kate Irwin, Emily Pierre-Gustavo, Jillian Valenzola, Jess Tomaso, and Juliana Tracy. Tim Coet here flying solo on the broadcast, bringing you coverage of Scarlet Hawks athletics on Milford TV. Covered a lot of girls basketball matchups so far this season, a lot of home games in this month of January. And that will start to turn here as the calendar flips to February. The only time you'll see the Lady Hawks here at home prior to the end of the regular season will be on the very last day of that regular season schedule on February 16th. So the Lady Hawks about to embark on a lengthy road trip. So hoping they can find a way to get the job done here at home against, again, a very tough opponent in Mansfield. Emily Pierre-Gustavo able to get a hand on the pass as Mansfield controls off the opening tip. A missed opportunity early for Meg Hill, and Milford able to grab the defensive rebound. And Kate Irwin now with the ball in her hands. Nice feed down low to Jill Valenzola, but she immediately gets double teamed. Now they'll try it again. The ball deflects out. Juliana Tracy able to track it down. And now it's Irwin out on the perimeter to Tomaso. Couldn't quite get a clean handle on the basketball, so no shot from Jess. She'll now feed it to the near wing for Pierre-Gustavo. She releases the 3. It's off the side of the rim, but good offensive board for Tracy. And the possession continues. Bounce pass now to Valenzola. She works baseline, can't drop it in. And finally, Meg Hill puts an end to the possession. A couple of good looks for Milford. And they've been really fighting for rebounds here through these early moments, as now Pierre-Gustavo again showing excellent defense, getting her hand on that pass from Bendanillo. Still 20 seconds left on the shot clock. Barely inside the opening 2 minutes of play. High looping pass into Meg Hill. They can get away with that with the 6'3" frame from the senior captain, and Hill is eventually able to grab the first points of the night on a second chance effort. Obviously a key for Milford is going to be on the defensive glass, trying to limit those second chance opportunities for Hill. Milford, meanwhile, tricky pass inside. Irwin trying to find Pierre Gustavo, and Mansfield gets the turnover, can't convert on the other side of the floor, and it's just Tommaso with the defensive rebound this time. She travels all the way to the basket, can't get the bank off the glass, and Tommaso and Irwin both down on the ground. Bodies flying as that ball went out of play. Had a quick conversation with Kate Irwin and the official after the play. It will be Milford basketball with still 6:05 to play in the first quarter. Pierre Gustavo eventually gets the bounce pass in. And Tommaso's three-pointer is no good. Now quickly up the floor in transition goes Mansfield. Now the ball kicked by Milford. That pass made its way back out to Bendanillo, so a fresh shot clock for Mansfield as they inbound. They'll lob it all the way out to Emily Vigent. And now again, the pass gets deflected out. It will once again stay with Mansfield with 5:48 to play. Now Tommaso guarding closely. Ball deflected out of play, this time by Jill Valenzola. So right now, Milford's defense not making anything easy for the Lady Hornets. They'll send it back out to the point with Bendanillo, and now immediately Milford closes in. Hill on the move inside. Too quick. Meg Hill, one of the league's top scorers, grabs the first 4 points of this night. The problem for Milford against these top-tier opponents has been this first quarter. We saw it most recently in Milford's loss here at home to Oliver Ames last week, getting out to a very uncomfortable start, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And nothing uncomfortable about that shot from Pierre Gustavo as she nails it from three-point range to quickly pull Milford back to within one. But really the key is trying to keep things close here in the first 8 minutes. A lot of times Milford has gotten badly outscored in the first quarter. Again, to go back to that Oliver Ames example, falling behind by 15 points after the first 8 minutes. And that ended up being the difference as Milford did lose by that 15-point margin. They were able to go on a run in the second half, but it was too little too late at that point. Milford again getting the pass out to Pierre Gustavo. Now it's Valenzola trying to release a shot from the free throw line. Milford's forced to send it back outside to Kate. Now here's Tommaso with a three. Looked good out of the hands, but would not go down. And Mansfield, nice job sticking with it. Tough play out of Maddie Bendanillo to grab the rebound between a couple of Milford players in the vicinity. And now Mansfield tossing up the three-pointer, no good. Initially, Mansfield had the rebound. Kate Irwin was able to get the ball in her hands, pushing it ahead to Pierre Gustavo. And now possession awarded to Mansfield, and Coach Oliver cannot believe it. Asking for an explanation, neither official looking in the Milford coach's direction. So Mansfield now inbounds as we're midway through this opening period. Milford hanging tough so far with just the 4-3 score. Passes around the perimeter, trying to spread out the Milford defense. Now with Mansfield pinned to the near sideline, Milford was able to turn it over, but Mansfield gets it right back, and now Jill Valenzola draws the charge. Took a lot of contact in the process, but as always, Jill Valenzola so reliable down low defensively. It's just the First foul for either side so far through this first quarter. Now, Owen sending that pass underneath the basket. And nothing doing offensively for Milford. That trip up the floor. Here's Hill now with the jumper. And it's an early 6 points for Meg Hill. Still a one-possession game. Milford, to their credit, looking much more engaged here early on than what we saw in that Oliver Ames game. Well, that first quarter looked as if the team was a little intimidated facing one of the top teams from the Kelly Rex, but so far hanging with this Lady Hornets squad. Maggie Danahy, meanwhile, able to get the bucket. First non-Meg Hill points of the night on the Mansfield side, and so that lead starting to creep up for Mansfield. Here's Juliana Tracy from three-point range. Tracy has really picked her spots shooting from beyond the arc this season, and it seems like every time she's knocked one down, it's been a big one. It helps bring it right back down to a 2-point margin as we tick down to 2 minutes to play in the quarter. Emily Vigent responds with a 3-ball on the Mansfield side. It was good defense from Milford, but a better shot from Vigent. Up to double digits now as Pierre Gustavo tried to get Hill to bite on the up fake. Now here's Valenzola, just could not finish at the rim, but fights for her own rebound. They feed it back outside to Tracy. No shot from Juliana this time. Here's Tommaso up and under the basket for two. To 8 with just over 90 seconds to play. Hill with the fadeaway shot. No good, and Mansfield could not save it from going out of play. Back to Milford. Again, good effort from Danahy. You've seen good effort up and down the floor from both of these teams. Bit of a playoff feel with these two opponents. They both know they'll be there. Not in the same division. Mansfield at the D1 level. Here Gustavo's shot long, but there's Tracy with the rebound and the putback. Juliana Tracy leading the Milford scoring right now with 5 first quarter points. And it's now down to a 1-point Mansfield lead with just over 60 seconds to play. Quick catch and shoot from the near wing for Ann Mayer. No good. One of the two captains on this squad, Mayer along with Meg Hill. Points yet from Kate Irwin. We're trying to get their supporting cast activated. They've gotten some good contributions so far. Here's Jess, has time to set the feet and in and out. Tommaso, no luck that time. It was a good looking shot. Goes partway down and then rims out. That has been the luck through a lot of the season here at home for Jess Tommaso. We've seen some bad bounces around the rim for Jess. Still a 10-11 margin, down to 22 seconds to play. About a 3-second difference between shot clock and game clock. Wide open on the near wing, and too much space granted, and Mayer. And now Milford a chance to play for the last shot. The handoff to Irwin. She takes a lot of contact as she tried to toss up that shot from 3-point range and left wondering where the call was. Instead, they called jump ball, and so Milford will have a chance to inbound with 0.2 seconds and just not enough time for Kate to get a shot away. Could have been a foul called, and instead Milford without an opportunity to grab a final bucket before this opening quarter comes to an end. A very fast-moving first quarter, some good play on both sides, and a manageable score right now for Milford. After that first quarter of play, 14-10, Mansfield with the lead. Start of the second quarter will come your way next here on Milford TV. Second quarter now getting started here in Milford, a 14-10 lead for the visiting Mansfield Lady Hornets. We knew this was going to be a difficult night for Kate Irwin to put points on the scoreboard. This is a team that really prides itself on taking away your primary scoring option. Kayla Raymond, who is currently the Hockomock League leading scorer, was relegated to just 6 points the last time Oliver Ames went up against this Mansfield team, and just too many chances on the offensive side of the floor that time for Mansfield. Erin Daniel eventually nets the bucket to push the lead up to 6 points for Mansfield. Pierre Gustavo rifling a pass to Tommaso into the corner now for Tracy. And now high pass pulled down by Pierre Gustavo. Tommaso underneath the basket, can't get it. Here's Irwin, her layup is no good. Milford creating some chances for themselves, but not converting. They've had some shots just not going down, especially from right underneath the basket. Not afford to miss those high percentage opportunities against an opponent like this that's so stingy defensively. Milford to inbound here with 6:47 to go in the half. And Kate Irwin still looking for her first points of the night. Jill Valenzola getting a rest on the bench right now with Kate Lobiser into the game. Lobiser couldn't corral the pass from Tommaso, and now ahead on the break is Daniel. She takes it to the basket. And 4 quick points out of Erin Daniel to pace the second quarter, the lead up to 8. And a bad pass up the floor for Milford. Deflects out of play, and the Lady Hawks getting a little lucky there as that deflected off of Mansfield. Here Gustavo gets the pass to Irwin. Irwin with her foot on the line. No, they'll count it from 3-point range for Kate. Looked like she had a step on that 3-point line, but good from 3. Milford needs it, excuse me. So an 18-13 score now with an even 6 minutes to play in the half. And again, it will be Maggie Danahy. She had an early bucket in the first quarter, now keeps it going as Mansfield continues to apply the offensive pressure. A 7-point lead, trying to hit Tommaso on the run. The pass ends up outside to Tracy. Lobiser gets closed off. Now Kate pushes it out. Pierre Gustavo, a couple of dribbles inside, and she gets 2. 5 points now in the first half for Pierre Gustavo. Then Danilo surveying her options now. Goes back and forth with Sydney Mulkern. Now the inside move for Danahy. No points this time. Now here's Milford trying to push ahead in transition. Here's Irwin. And Irwin trying to do a little too much there. Had 4 defenders in the neighborhood. The ball will stay with Milford as Coach Redding sends in 4 substitutions. Meg Hill, who had been getting a breather, now back out on the floor as Rabinowitz gets tangled up on the near sideline. Milford saves it. The shot no good, the ball out of play, and it will stay with Milford with 14 seconds left on the shot clock. Valenzola comes back out onto the floor. Irwin now guns it to Pierre Gustavo, takes another 3-point shot. It does not fall. Valenzola couldn't fight her way for the rebound. Looked like she might have taken contact around the face. Mansfield fans wanting to see a foul called on that missed shot for the Lady Hornets. No such luck for the visitors, and Valenzola meanwhile with the bucket on the other end of the floor. That's Jill's first points of the half, and back down to a 1-possession game at 20-17. 4 minutes down, 4 minutes to go here in the second quarter. And Hill able to make the move around Valenzola. And Meg Hill, who had 6 points in the first quarter, now up to 8 overall in the game. Milford will keep testing their luck from three-point range. Count it for Julie Rabinowitz. Milford has hit 4 three-pointers so far in this first half. It's kept them close. A 2-point margin with 3:28 to play in the half. And now Pierre Gustavo with the steal. Great footwork to stay in play. And sends the pass away to Kate Irwin. A chance for Milford to tie or take the lead. They take the lead with another three ball, this time for Emily Pierre Gustavo, who's now up to 8 points in the half. Milford seizing on some momentum here in the later stages of the second quarter. Lobiser with some tight defense. Down to 10 seconds on the shot clock. Coach Dolliver trying to keep his defense disciplined out there on the floor. There's Hill now off the miss. Another offensive rebound opportunity. And eventually the ball goes off of Meg Hill and out. So Mansfield with several chances. Both of these teams scratching and clawing for every rebound on both sides of the floor. But Milford with the lead and the basketball, down to 2.5 minutes to play in the half. Would be a huge momentum boost and confidence boost for Milford if they could take the lead into halftime. And Valenzola contributing with another bucket. Pushing the Milford lead to 3. It's the largest lead Milford has held so far tonight. Mansfield trying to answer with 3. And now Milford committing a rare foul. These teams have been disciplined, just 2 fouls apiece. Just over 2 minutes to play in the half, and this will be the first shots we'll see from the free throw line tonight. They'll come from Maggie Danahy. Danahy has 4 points so far. This is the first free throw. Both teams will send subs out onto the floor. Tracy out, Pierre Gustavo will get a rest, providing some energy points here in the second quarter. 5 points in the second for Pierre Gustavo. And 2 free throw misses for the Lady Hornets. Can Milford keep the pressure on as we now go under the 2-minute mark? And away from the basketball, good movement for Kate Irwin. Kate now with 5 points in the second quarter after being held scoreless through the first 8. Around the perimeter for Mansfield. A shot off the back of the rim to flex out. And back to Milford. So Milford going on a bit of a run here. Leading at 27-22. And a lot of contact again against Kate. Coach Dolliver reacting. The officials letting these teams play through the first half. As now Irwin gets her pocket pick. She's a little slow to get back up into the play. Now gets across center court. No look pass back outside, sets up a good look from 3-point range for Ann Mayer. But she cannot convert, and we are under a minute to go. A 5-point lead for Milford, looking to build on it here. Tracy hands off to Tommaso. Now Irwin down, and she is still down as the shot was no good from Valenzola. And right now, Kate being attended to by the training staff, so we will pause here with 38.5 seconds to go. Injury timeout. We'll be back with more next here on Milford TV. We return now out of the timeout. Certainly some scary moments there as Kate Irwin went down very hard due to contact. As now we see more contact, the hack on Valenzola. She will head to the free throw line. Kate eventually was able to get off the court under her own power. With the contact happening away from the basketball, it was hard to see at first glance. whether Kate's head impacted the court as she went down. She stayed down for a few moments as the Milford training staff attended to her. So just as a correction, no free throws on that foul to Valenzola, with still just 3 team fouls on Mansfield. Milford trying to survive now to the half with seeing their best player go down, and Emily Pierre-Gustavo able to respond with her 3rd three-pointer of this first half, opening up an 8-point lead on Mansfield as the pass gets airmailed all the way over to the Milford bench. And the Lady Hawks will get possession back with just 7.6 seconds to go. And we'll see if Milford can put one more shot home here. Mansfield applies some pressure in the backcourt. 5 seconds to go as Pierre-Gustavo dribbles up the floor. The ball loose. Rabinowitz able to get it back, but her shot was blocked as we now reach halftime here in the Milford gym. So certainly the good news for Milford, a lot of good news in that half. A resilient performance in the second quarter allows Milford to pull ahead 30-22, but certainly some concerned spectators and some concerned teammates here as we will wait to see the results of the injury to Kate Irwin. Again, went down hard due to contact, was able to leave the court under her own power, but right now is in the locker room being attended to by the training staff. So we will see if we get any updates on Kate's status as the broadcast goes along. But the youth team's out there. We will pause for the half, back with more when we start the third quarter next here on Milford TV. Once again, we welcome you inside the Milford gym. Time for second half action in this girls basketball matchup between Milford and Mansfield. It is Milford with the 30-22 lead as we are about to start the third quarter, and of course still monitoring the situation with Milford's scoring star Kate Irwin, who went down hard to the floor right in those closing seconds of the first half. Stayed down for several moments before leaving under her own power, going to the locker room to get checked out. Kate came back out on the floor right at the end of the half. You can see her on the screen right now, but it is unclear as to whether Kate will try to give it a go here at some point in the second half. Took just 2 shots as she came out to warm up with her teammates and then went back into the locker room, is back out now. Does have an ice pack that she's keeping on her head, so clear she did take some hard contact as she went down to the floor. So out to watch the second half, but right now as just a spectator. We will see how things transpire with Kate as the game goes on, but meanwhile Milford trying to continue to battle hard with the lead. They did a lot of things very well in that first half, not the least of which was some stellar outside shooting, which came up big as they went on a second half run to erase a deficit and eventually pull ahead by this 8-point margin. Emily Pierre-Gustavo outstanding in the first half, leading all scorers with 11 points. Meg Hill, the leading scorer on the Mansfield side, with 8 first half points. But Mansfield an opportunity to change up their defensive scheme now with the lack of Kate Irwin on the floor. And Juliana Tracy, meanwhile, ends up drawing the foul as she was able to corral that loose ball, got the push from behind. And now Milford will inbound still in the opening minute of this second half. Milford team that has shown outstanding toughness for the entire tenure of this current nucleus of senior players, and needing to really dig deep now in the absence of their scoring star. Certainly capable of picking up the slack. Milford, meanwhile, getting called for the turnover there on the travel. 60 seconds into this third quarter. An easy look from just inside the free throw line for Maggie Danahy. She had 4 points in the first half. So Milford with 4 of their starting 5. Rabinowitz out there in the absence of Kate. And so she should see some extended time on the floor as the second half goes on. And of course it tests the depth of this Milford team, typically just going with their group of seniors, going 7 deep in all. See if any of the younger players see the floor at any point as we move on into the third and fourth quarters. It's Pierre Gustavo now. She loses control of the basketball, pushing the other way. And Mansfield ends up converting. The first points of the second half have belonged to Mansfield. Rabinowitz could not get the bounce around the rim. And now the Lady Hornets putting the pressure on as Ann Mayer gets her second three-pointer to drop on the night. And just like that, the 8-point lead for Milford has been cut down to a single point, and timeout called on the floor. And you had to imagine that there was going to be a potential momentum swing in Mansfield's favor with Kate Irwin not on the floor. And so now just a 1-point lead for Milford as the two teams talk it over during the timeout. We'll be back with 5 minutes and 56 seconds to go in the third quarter when we come back next here on Milford TV. Milford controls out of the timeout. Looking for their first points of this third quarter. Mansfield on a 7-0 run. And trying to find Juliana Tracy down low, but another turnover generated by the Lady Hornets. And now a chance to retake the lead as again they release from three. Offline on the shot that time, but the Hornets track down the rebound, now feed it into Hill. Meg Hill now up to double digits with 10 points and the lead back in the visitors' favor. As the run for Mansfield now 9 straight points. Milford trying to find a response, but Valenzola loses control of the basketball, gets it back, sends it out to Rabinowitz. Offline on the three-point attempt, and the steal for Bendanillo, and she takes it coast to coast. Maddie Bendanillo's first points of the night, and it ups the Mansfield lead now to 3. Milford, that confidence shaken, looking so strong through the first half, but it's a different story so far as Mansfield tries for the quick feed to Hill underneath the basket. And Juliana Tracy continuing to fight for those rebounds. Somehow, as she was losing her footing, was able to get the pass away, but Milford really struggling with turnovers. An easy layup opportunity in transition. Mansfield could not convert. And now the ball loose on the floor. Fighting for it is Danahy, all the way to the edge of the court where the foul is called. Jess Tomaso left with hands on knees in frustration. Mansfield looking supremely confident right now, and Sydney Mulkern left uncontested on the perimeter. Puts in from 3, and it's up to a 6-point Mansfield lead, and Milford right now just trying to find a way to stop the bleeding. 3:40 to go in the quarter, and what has been a scoreless quarter so far. There's Pierre Gustavo. She will unleash the deep 3, no good, and the rebound tracked down by Danahy. Mansfield able to play a much different defensive game now. It's really working to their advantage. A couple of dribbles and then the 3-ball unleashed. No good. Danahy with the rebound, and now eventually Tomaso up with it. She tries to push the floor. And then could not get as much on that pass as she had hoped for, trying to find Pierre Gustavo. It did not get to Emily. Instead, another turnover, about a half a dozen or so now in this quarter for Milford. High arcing 3, no good. Tipped towards the near sideline and out. Last touched by Milford. As now we'll see Kate Lobiser check into the game. Juliana Tracy will get a rest. Tommaso gets her hands on that pass. It's tipped out of play. And Mansfield will inbound with 9 seconds to go on the shot clock. Inbounds pass finds Aaron Daniel, who had 4 points in the second quarter. Shot clock winding down with 2 seconds to go. The shot contested by Milford. And now trying to send a long outlet pass ahead into the corner for Tommaso. It gets deflected out of play by Mansfield. Both of these teams with just 4 losses overall on the year. Mansfield's played a few more games overall. The only loss within league play for Mansfield came against Foxborough back on the second game of the regular season. Meanwhile, Grace Rizzio has checked into the game for the first time, so Coach Dolliver will start to give some of his younger players an opportunity to see the floor. Kate Lobiser with the defensive rebound. It's still a 6-point lead for Mansfield. Valenzola, a couple of chances, and it's unable to yield results. Here's Rizzio on the floor fighting for the rebound, and the jump ball called for. Possession arrow is pointing Mansfield's way, so despite some very good effort from the junior Grace Rizzio, possession will go to Mansfield, and Milford continues to search for their first points of the second half with just 1:34 to play in this third quarter. It's been a 14-0 third quarter for the Mansfield Lady Hornets. And you can make it now a 16-0 run as Hill continues to pad her offensive stats. Milford desperate for a little bit of a spark to reignite their offense. Mansfield really closing in on Tommaso and Pierre Gustavo. Outside to Rizzio now with a foot on the three-point line. Shot falls short. Tommaso ended up going down to the floor, but the whistle goes against Milford. And that will certainly not help the frustration level out on the floor for the Lady Hawks. 48 seconds left in the period. A chance for Mansfield to establish a double-digit lead, and they do so in style. Sydney Mulkern scraping the ceiling with that high arcing three, and now Meg Hill getting her hands on the ball underneath the basket, but Milford able to recover, and now the shot clock turned off. As the shot from Milford is offline, it's up to an 11-point Mansfield lead, and now the Lady Hornets will have a chance to play for the final shot. And it'll be another three-point attempt. And counted again for Sydney Mulkern, who has 9 points in this third quarter. They've all come from the three-point line. And a disastrous 8 minutes comes to an end for Milford. They came into this third quarter with a 30-22 lead. They come out trailing by a score of 30-44. And so just a really unfortunate turn of events if you're a Milford fan. Obviously, this game could have played out very differently if Milford was at full strength, but losing their leading scorer has really drastically changed the circumstances for these two teams, and Mansfield taking advantage, just dominating that third quarter, holding Milford completely scoreless. And so the Lady Hawks will have to find a way to respond in the fourth quarter. They talk it over with their head coach. We will be back for the start of that fourth quarter in just a moment. Stay tuned to coverage of Scarlet Hawks athletics here on Milford TV. Mansfield completely owning the third quarter, turning an 8-point deficit into a 14-point lead. An early foul called against Mansfield to open up this fourth quarter. Tim Coet here with you on the call on this Tuesday evening. Milford playing their second to last home game on their regular season schedule. Tommaso swarmed by defenders. Lobiser now will dribble it out. In some trouble, trying to get the ball to Pierre Gustavo. Finally, she's able to. Now trying to get it back. The ball deflects to Tommaso. And Tommaso gets fouled. And will have a chance to take just the first trip to the free throw line in this game for Milford. Marcio now takes a seat on the bench. Tracy back out onto the floor. As Jess is able to put in the second of 2 free throws, and that is Milford's first point of the second half. And now Pierre Gustavo able to force the turnover. Here's Tommaso pushing the other way, and again she will get fouled. And so Milford trying to put in some points without the clock moving to inch themselves back into this game. More opportunities for Tommaso. Jess has 3 points in the game. It's knocked down just one of these first 3 free throw attempts she's had in the quarter. So the Mansfield lead down to 12. Just over 7 minutes to play in the game. Mansfield looking for their 12th victory on the year. And now it's Erin Daniel who goes down hard. Looks like she went down on that right elbow, and she is slow to get up, so we will have another stoppage here for the injury timeout. 44-32, Mansfield leads Milford here on Milford TV. Seen a couple of injuries in this game, a lot of physical play, and Erin Daniel having to come off the floor. She's being looked after by the training staff. Jonathan Raskow has had a busy night here tonight. It looks like the right elbow of Erin Daniel is being checked out as she went down very hard after missing the shot, and Coach Redding now calling the timeout. So right back to a stoppage in play with 7:06 to go. So we've mentioned it a couple of times during the broadcast. Milford will face a lot of road tests here in the late stages of their schedule. After the conclusion of this game here tonight, they will play their next 4 consecutive games on the road before returning for one final game to conclude the regular season here at home. So contests at Stoughton, at Canton, at Foxborough, and at North Attleboro, and you certainly circle those games against Stoughton, Foxborough, and Canton as 3 tough tests for Milford. Canton still hanging in there in 3rd place in the Davenport standings at 7-6. Stoughton at 5-7, but they have always been a tough test for Milford. And then, of course, Foxborough leading the way in the Davenport standings at 12-2, undefeated in Hockomock League play. Those will be difficult games for Milford. Still work to be done here on the home floor tonight. Quick catch and shoot from 3-point range off the inbounds pass is no good. Danahy trying to clean up the glass, and 3rd time's a charm for Danahy. She is up to 10 points now. Milford in search of their first points from the floor in this half. Tommaso covers it up, and Coach Dolliver calls the timeout with the senior in some trouble. So the pace of this 4th quarter starting to grind to a halt after what has just been a lightning quick game to this point. The opening tip of this game took place just about 56 minutes ago, and we already are well into this 4th quarter. 6 minutes and 41 seconds to play. And again, while we have the timeout, we'll take the opportunity to again look at a couple of the top scorers in the Hockomock League. Kayla Raymond continues to be the scoring leader in terms of points per game in the Hockomock, averaging 20.9 points, but the gap has closed between Raymond and Kate Irwin, who came into tonight's action averaging 19.2 points per game. Of course, that will take a bit of a hit with Kate missing the second half of this game due to injury. She had just 5 points in the first half. Ashley Sampson of Foxborough is your number 3 scorer with 17.5 points per game. Sam Pierce of Attleboro in fourth, 14.9 points per game. Then it's Canton's Hannah Jerrier at 14.7, and then 6th in the league is Mansfield's Meg Hill at 14.2 points per game. Tomaso struggling to find a pass partner on the inbounds, eventually gets it in to Tracy. Now Rabinowitz gets it out to Pierre Gustavo. Now it's Valenzola in some trouble. 3 seconds left on the shot clock. And a miss for Jill. Tracy unable to save it from going out of play. Tomaso contesting that inbounds pass. Swats the ball out of play. Hill receives that inbounds pass. Milford quickly swarming the basketball. Nearly had a turnover there, but Mansfield able to recover, and now they get it to Ben Danilo, who resets things. Now it's Hill. Quick turnaround shot is no good. Danahy, who has been a force on the glass. That is a formidable duo with Hill and Danahy. Maggie Danahy standing at 5'11". Now the release from 3-point range short. Tomaso pulls down the board. It's still a 14-point Mansfield lead. Points have been at a premium for both teams so far here in the fourth quarter. 2 points apiece. Now 5:45 left to play. Milford puts the pressure on in the backcourt. Mansfield able to break it with ease. Now numbers up the floor. And Hill gets the jumper. And Meg Hill now up to 12 points. Valenzola feeding Tomaso. Tomaso working the baseline now. Here's Pierre Gustavo. Gets a clean look from 3-point range, but overshoots it. Mansfield with an opportunity here to slow the pace. As the clock now will tick under 5 minutes to play. They find Hill. Hill times the jump. And takes the foul. Foul going against Valenzola. It's just the 3rd foul for Milford in the half. Hill could not get the bounce. One for 2. It's been awfully quiet in the gym throughout this second half. It was such a raucous atmosphere in those final minutes of the second quarter when Milford went on their big run to open up that 8-point lead, but the life really sucked out of the gym after the Kate Irwin injury. Julie Rabinowitz, meanwhile, knocking down her second 3-pointer of the game. Maddie Bendanillo just able to save that ball from deflecting out of play. Out of play here on the near sideline. Mansfield will inbound with 12 seconds left on the shot clock. Pierre Gustavo with some tough defense. Now the lob into Hill. And Hill gets a roll around the rim and in. Tracy getting pinned to that sideline underneath the basket. Able to eventually pass it back out. 10 seconds left on the shot clock for Milford, taking a lot of time. But Tommaso able to find the hoop. Foul here stops the clock with 3:40 to play. It's back down to a 14-point margin. But time quickly winding down on the comeback bid for Milford as Mansfield gets the ball back into play. And they will continue to use the clock as their friend. Still 15 seconds left on the shot clock. They'll release the three from the corner. It's offline for Ann Mayer. Milford trying to push ahead in transition. Valenzola can't get the high bank off the glass. Break up a two-game winning streak for Milford. It's that victory against Norwood with the follow-up performance against Attleboro last Friday. There's Tommaso. She'll take the long-range shot. Can't make it, but tracks down her own rebound. Now here's Valenzola, thought about the long-range shot, now feeds Tommaso. Ball still up for grabs. The foul called, and after the foul, the official taking a quick peek to some of the visiting fans, asking them to keep the commentary to a minimum. Substitutions flowing in now from the Mansfield side. It looks like Lobiser will also check in, replacing Valenzola. So certainly the question moving forward for Milford will be how serious is the injury for Irwin. You certainly hope that there's no possible concussion. But certainly something you have to think about with Kate unable to return here in the second half. Milford hoping they will not be without the services of their star player for an extended period of time. Inside of 2 minutes to play. Shot rims out for Mansfield. Rabinowitz with the rebound. Milford continuing to give a solid effort here right to the end. Rabinowitz unable to convert on the three-point shot. The ball deflects all the way out to midcourt. Timeout now called on the floor with 1:26 seconds left to go. So into the final stretch we go. We'll be back with the conclusion of this girls basketball matchup when we come back next here on Milford TV. Milford fans left wondering what might have been in this game. A really unfortunate injury for Kate Irwin just prior to halftime. Completely changing the dynamic of this game. Milford with 30 first half points, but they've been able to produce just 7 here in the second half with Kate Irwin on the shelf. Meanwhile, outstanding move to the basket for Stephanie Kemp. Pushes Mansfield up to 53 points. Less than a minute left. Rabinowitz finds Tracy. Tracy's three offline. Mansfield takes back over. Just 47 ticks to go. Pierre Gustavo still putting some pressure on in the backcourt. The ball loose now on the floor. Pierre Gustavo picks it up and then gets fouled. 5 fouls apiece here in the second half. Not a lot of fouls for either side throughout this entire game. A 4-second difference between shot clock and game clock. Pierre Gustavo from 3. Emily had 11 points in the first half, but with the defense closing in without Kate on the floor, that's Emily's first points of the second half, but still a solid 14-point performance on the night as Mansfield passes around the perimeter until the final buzzer sounds. And it finishes off a 53-40 victory for Mansfield here tonight. So frustration for Milford. Certainly frustration for Kate Irwin, who had to sit on the sidelines for the second half of this game, and Mansfield able to come through with the comeback performance. So Mansfield with the victory does improve to 12-4 overall on the season. The loss for Milford puts them to 10-5 overall. A lot of road games on the horizon now for Milford. They'll be next in action on Friday, February the 2nd, as they travel to Stoughton to take on the Lady Knights, and then it's matchups in Canton and in Foxborough next week. So we will continue to monitor the progress of girls basketball. You can check out our weekly updates on the Milford Informer every Friday night at 7:30 p.m. A big thank you to our Milford TV crew on hand for tonight's action, our director Rob O'Keefe, and our camera operators Neelan Reisman and Malcolm Zale. And I am Tim Coette. The final score, one final time, 53-40. Mansfield defeats the Milford Lady Scarlet Hawks. This has been a presentation of Milford High School Athletics here on Milford TV. So long, everybody.